How's it going, YouTube? DMFF here with a Hearthstone deck? Never seen me play Hearthstone before. Yeah, I've never actually streamed it, or really, I might have streamed it once. But yeah, Hearthstone deck. This is my XL Tempo Mage deck for standard. I opt to run the 40 cards because I was playing Hero Power Mage, and I felt like I was drawing through my deck too fast and just not able to squeeze the wins out. So I figured, well, I'll make an XL version of that. Well, it ended up being more like a tempo deck, but it is still that hero power deck. First, start things off, we have 2 copies of Flurry, which upgrade at 5 mana and 10 mana, where it will freeze instead of 1 random enemy minion, it'll go to 2 and then to 3. Arcane Worm adds an Arcane Bolt to our hand, which is a 1-drop spell that does 2 damage to anything, except when we reach 8 mana crystals and higher, it will deal 3, so it's essentially like Lightning Bolt in Magic the Gathering, which is excellent. Excellent to kill our opponent with late game, or even pick off our opponent's minions early game. It's great stuff. Shivering Sorceress reduces the highest cost spell in our hand by 1, making our tempo plays a little bit faster. Sir Finley's Sea Guide is a must in XL decks, as it allows you to dig into your deck and put back a bad hand, thus giving you almost like another mulligan. Obviously, 2 Wildfire to increase your hero damage. Amplified Snow Flurry is just an excellent card that essentially will make your hero power free the turn that you play it, and it also freezes the target. Great tempo play. Blood Mage Thalnos is great, gives us spell damage +1, plus his Death Rattle will replace himself drawing a card. This spell damage comes in clutch in the mid and late game. Frozen Touch is 2 mana to deal 3 damage, but if you have 3 creatures die, or 3 minions die while it's in your hand, when you cast it, you add another copy of Frozen Touch to your hand. So you can basically have endless 3 damage spells that can be buffed by your spell damage minions in the deck. Solid Alibi is a solid alibi. Until your next turn, your hero can only take 1 damage at a time. Definitely life-saving. Spell Coiler is great tempo plays. If you've cast a spell while holding it, you can discover a spell when you cast it, which pretty nice. Vast Wisdom discovers 2 spells that cost 3 or less, and then you swap their costs. So you can make more expensive spells cost less, but at the cost of making that cheaper spell more. Arcane Intellect, 2 of, obviously, draw 2 cards. Great card. 1 Arc Splitter that when it dies, it adds 2 Arcane Bolts to our hand, giving us more burn damage. Brand Bronzebeard, excellent card, makes our battle cries trigger twice. That can combo very well with a lot of stuff in our deck, especially when our hero power is high. It can combo well with Reckless Apprentice, or even Varden Dawngrasp to do some board wipe shenanigans. Frostweave Dungeoneer draws a card from our deck, and if it's a frost spell, we also summon 2/1/1 elementals that freeze. Nightcloak Sanctum, great card right now. Freezes a minion, and summons a 2/2 skeleton. And you can do that twice while it's on the field. Prince Renathal is required to make an XL deck. He's a 3/4 minion that makes your deck size 40 and your starting health 35. He has been nerfed. It used to give you 40 health, but it's still pretty good for this deck. 2 Cold Case, summon 2 2/2s, the skeletons that blow up when they die, and gain 4 armor. It's just really good for 4 mana. Multicaster, many times in this deck, is going to have us drawing 3 cards. and will come down as a 3/4, so, you know, it's actually really good to dig through our deck. Reckless Apprentice, as mentioned earlier, fires your hero power at all enemies. When it's beefed up, you can do some crazy stuff with this little 4-drop. Varden Dawngrasp, freeze the board, or you can even freeze the board and deal 4 damage to everything if you couple it with Brand Bronzebeard. Agwyn the Guardian is a sleeper card in this deck. Spell damage +2, and then when it dies, the next minion you draw inherits the powers. So you can essentially carry that +2 spell damage on throughout the game and use it to kill your opponents with all these arcane bolts and frozen touches, along with anything else that you happen to discover with any of the cards that you have drawn, with things like Vast Wisdom. Magister Dawngrasp many times is going to be casting Arcane Intellect, one of your Frost spells. It's best if it casts Solid Alibi, and then will be casting one of the Wildfires to amplify the hero damage even more. Plus, once she's out, you get Arcane Burst, which has the honorable kill, gain an additional damage. Mordresh Fire Eye just makes sense since we're going to be dealing a lot of damage with our hero power. When he comes out, after we've dealt 10 damage with our hero power, he'll come down and deal 10 damage to their whole board, including themselves. Finally, we have Malygos the Spellweaver. Is a great turn 9 play battle cry to fill our hand full of spells. We'll just draw a large majority of the spells in our deck if we have a low hand. This can even come down as early as turn 8 if you are going second, which can be crippling to our opponents. This deck is super fun to play, and I think this is actually my favorite deck of the format. If you would make any changes, why not? Comment them down below. But here's some gameplay. I hope you enjoy it.